All right, this is exercise 4B, and in it we are going to do some level design based on some settings we have in our character, and some of this is going to be up to you. We're going to demonstrate it in video that you've done it. We are also going to import some assets from KennyNL and make levels that look good. And we are also going to do some setup to make things easier in the future, starting right now. So the first thing we're going to do is create a thing that we call a gameplay garden. This is a place where we can test out our gameplay ideas and not have them be official levels yet. So this is a way that we can just test little bits of functionality without loading up level 5 or whatever. So the way we're going to do that is the first thing I'm going to do is grab this main camera, and I'm going to drag it into prefabs because we are going to have multiple levels eventually, and I don't want to have to recreate this camera every time. So we're going to do that. And also what we're going to do is we're going to make a new folder called scenes. And then let's actually, for the moment, we are going to duplicate this, right, Control-C, Control-V, and I'm going to call this gameplay garden. I'm going to drag that into scenes and then make sure I open it. Yes, I'm going to save scene because I did change that to a prefab. And I'm now going to basically delete everything except the player and the visual scripting variables, which I do potentially need. Let's create one platform. So 2D objects, sprites, square. Let's put the platform under the character. Let's make it wider. Also remember to set this to obstacle. Make sure when I run it, I fall through the loop. Oh, right. Also put on a collider 2D. I promise you that isn't the first time you're going to see this today. Okay, and the camera's not moving it because main camera lost the connection to target when I made it a prefab, I think. So there we go. Okay. And we possibly do not want the camera to be vertically offset like this, because this means that the player's always on the ground, and if we jump up to something, well, no, that's okay. Good enough for now. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to get rid of the square eventually, but right now it's just so our player doesn't fall forever. Let us get started with making tile sets first. Then we will make some gameplay decisions. So I'm going to make a new folder called tile sets. You'll see why in a little bit. I'm actually going to make some subfolders as well. We're going to call one ground tiles. We're going to call one background tiles. We're going to call one foreground tiles. You'll see why in a little bit. This is a little bit of setup. So what we have in the tile settings is we have a whole bunch of little tiles. It can be hard to see here. Can I make a bigger one? Yeah. So this is going to be our ground areas. We have a bunch of ground things here. We have some snowy ground. We have some ground that is just like indoors. We have some question blocks. We have lava. We have platforms. We have these grassy green areas. We have trees, so we could make a big tree out of this. We also have some numbers and percentages and toadstools and flags and stuff. So we are going to start mostly by using the stuff in this top corner here to make some levels, and then you'll be able to expand this as you need. So, all right. And then we have some backgrounds. So we're going to be able to make some background areas. These are much bigger tiles, potentially. So, although maybe not, we might just use these as normal tiles as well. In fact, I think we should. And then we also have some characters, which we will be using later to make some enemies that do interesting things. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to change some stuff about these tiles. So through trial and error, this is actually meant to be 15 pixels per unit, not 100. And we're also going to change this. I already did it, but make sure you change this filter mode to point. If you have anything that's pixel sized, you want it to be point filter, otherwise it will look blurry and weird. And I think all right, we're going to try something. It's probably going to fail. So we're going to save it. Okay, so we just did that. I might need to slice this. Right now, let's try it without being sliced. Okay, why are we... Unclear why the inspector is only selecting this now. I think I broke it. Oh no, okay. All right, cool. I broke Unity. I'm going to close it. Start it. I'm not going to cut that out of the video because it's good to know that sometimes stuff just breaks. And how do we recover? Well, sometimes we recover by just closing Unity and restarting it. So let's also, for these backgrounds, set this to 15. And point filter. That might, well, we'll see. Trial and error is often the way to go. So it's possible that this needs to be bigger than 15. No, I don't know. Let's find out. So I think I might have to break these down into multi strips the same way we did animations. We're going to find out. So the next thing we're going to do, after I'm done hemming and hawing, is we're going to create a new thing called a tile map. So a tile map is going to define our walkable, climbable areas that look good, and also are going to define our backgrounds and other things of that nature. So it's in, I'm going to right click, go to 2D objects, I'm going to go to tile map, and the one we want is rectangular. It is going to create a thing called a grid, and it's going to create a thing called a tile map. We're going to have multiples of these. So I'm going to call this one, actually going to call it middle layer. The middle layer is the layer that we're going to walk on. So I'm going to order this to 10 in the tile map renderer. So we're going to have a renderer, and then also I'm going to add a component here, and we're going to get a tile map collider. And we're going to say used by composite, because otherwise it breaks them up. Just trust me on this one for now. Collider will not function with a composite. Well, we'll see how this works. I did a little bit earlier. Okay, so we have a tile set and we have a middle layer, and currently this is empty, so we actually want some objects that we can drop on top of it. And I'm going to bring my grid back by hitting this Y. So here's the grid, and the things I'm going to create are going to be on this grid. So the first thing we're going to do is open Tile Palette. This is going to let us draw tiles onto the ground for our character to walk around on. And we want it to be on middle layer. Eventually we'll have multiple layers. And we don't have a palette, so we're going to create a new palette, and we're going to call this palette we'll just call it obstacles. We're going to have some stuff that's on multiple palettes, but that's fine. So we're going to call this obstacles, and I want this actually to be in sprites. Not sprites, I'm going to go to tile sets and ground tiles. So I'm selecting the ground tiles folder, and it's the obstacles palette. Probably should have called this ground tiles, but whatever. And now I'm going to grab this tile map and drag it in. And then I'm going to go, it opens up a new generate new tile. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to assets, and I'm going to go to tile sets. I'm going to go to ground tiles, and it says file name tile app. I'm going to call it ground tiles, and I'm probably going to, yeah, okay. So that is bad. So let's see if this fixes this by doing one thing. Otherwise, I'm going to have to remake some stuff. Okay, so let's go back to our tile sets. Now we know. Yeah, so we had this ground tiles, and it did all this stuff, and so that's kind of lame. So let's go to back to our Kenny tile sprites. We're going to go here, and we're going to grab sprite editor. And instead of being one, sorry, we want this to be multiple. And apply it, and then sprite editor. And we are going to slice automatic, which I think I've already done. Yeah, so this time we're going to be automatic. This is going to cause some potential problems if we use the ropes, because the middle one is offset, but everything else is going to be okay, I think. We'll find out. So hit slice, did automatic. I did center as well, and I hit slice, and there we go. I'm going to hit apply. And now, yeah, okay, that messed up this a little bit. So now let's grab this tile set again. I still have my middle layer. I'm going to grab this tile set and drag it in. And now I'm going to be with tile set ground tiles. We're going to select that again. Okay, now I have my palette full of different tiles that I can select. And now I can drag them in like this. They do extend out a little bit, but that's good for platformers. I can even grab here. This is an end cap. I can grab this one, which is the other end cap, and now we have a ground which begins and ends and looks okay. Now if I now I'm going to just delete this square. Let's actually delete it. I've had play. Falls through the world. Okay, so the reason why is that layer was set to not obstacle. So now it's set to obstacle. There we go. So because of my camera offset, we really only see kind of the beginnings of the ground, but if I make some platforms up here, I'll actually be able to see them. So if I come up here and let's zoom in and let's make a floating platform of, let's say, one of these, one of these. So I'm not sure if that's high enough. Yeah. Bonk, can't jump through it. Also, cannot jump high enough. Also, the edges are a little bit bigger than I want. So let's see what happened there. Let's turn our grid back on. So the character can jump 4 spaces, which is the same size as this. So we're going to go back to our palette. And we're going to, how do we delete? Erase. So I'm going to erase these tiles. So now we are going to be slightly in our game design phase. So we've set our character to jump 1, 2, 3, 4. So I probably want this to be 1, 2, 3 because 4 will clear it. So we jump. Yeah, so if we can jump 4, we get above it. If we set it to jump 3, we cannot. So this is the beginning of our gameplay garden in terms of tiles. Okay, so that's good. We're going to save it. And now we're going to make a different tile set without collisions. Also, let's go to the player, and the player graphics I set to here. I'm going to set it to 5 order and layer. So these things are 10. And actually, I don't know. Let's make the player above them, actually. So these are 10. So the player graphics will be rendered at 15, which is closer. And then we're going to right-click on grid. We're going to create another 2D objects tile map, still regular. And we're going to call this foreground. 4 layer. Okay, so I'm going to make that 20. And now I can change tile map focus. Cool. Change it to, all right, so I have foreground layer selected. So I'm actually, I can select here which I'm drawing on, so it doesn't matter which of these I select, honestly. But in my tile palette, I can select which of these I'm going to select. So I'm going to select 4 layer. I'm going to zoom in here and get my little sign. So these things are not to scale. These are really scaled for the Kenny and Elle characters. So I'm creating a tiny little person who is in this world. So one of the things I might want to do is scale this player up and maybe even make their movement thing taller, their collider taller. So I'm not really put in the world. But for now, let's do, right, and these things are not 100%. See that that's floating. That should actually be pulled down a little bit. So I would maybe actually go to the foreground tiles, and if I can get this tile, I can hit the sprite editor. Oh, okay, so this is the original sprite editor. And so I can then find that, and I'm going to change its pivot to bottom center, just that one. Apply it. Oh no, that made it worse. Okay, let's do the opposite. Let's make its pivot to be top center. Okay, not perfect either, but maybe if I do a custom, move it down a little bit, maybe down a little bit more. There we go. Now it looks like it's in the ground. That's what I want. So now when I play, all this stuff off the ground. So now when I play, I walk behind the foreground elements, and I also do not collide with them. Right, so there we go. Then this also still looks bad. So let's create, looks bad in a gameplay sense. It also looks bad because the characters are not in the same scale, but that's okay for the moment. So we're going to do a new 2D object. We're going to do a new rectangular, and we're going to call this background. And then in the background, we are going to set it to -20. This is totally in the background. And also we need to make a new tile palette. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, turns out I didn't need foreground tiles. I'm just going to use the ground tiles, but I do need the background tiles. So we're going to go back to Kenny Offsets, make that smaller, and I'm going to grab this tile map, and then I am going to use Sprite Editor. I am going to first make it multiple, then apply it. Now I can I changed the polygon, sorry, multiple, there we go. So slice, and we're gonna do automatic. Let's slice it, there we go. Cool, so now that's it. So we can save, we can apply. Now we can go back to our tile palette and hit this and create a new palette, which is going to be backgrounds. I'm going to create it, and now I'm going to navigate to my tile sets and my background tiles and select that folder. And now I can grab this and drag it in. And then I will select my background tiles here. There we go. So now I can make sure I am selecting my background layer. And let's say that I am in the sky area. So I'm actually going to grab my dropper, and I can now make a giant background area, which is, kind of blinding. But then we can draw like these are set weird. Oh, I wonder if it's because, no? All right. Let's play around with our, no. It definitely was meant to be 13 or 15. Maybe, let's try 20. Okay, so I think the issue is that these are kind of offset. So probably have to play with this later in terms of backgrounds. Also, you could probably untile these and just make them huge and put them in the background. So for now, I'm actually just going to erase those and put, there we go. So now at least we have some sort of background that we're dealing with, and it's behind everything, and there we go. Okay, so that is a character with tiles in my little gameplay garden where I have adjusted the size so that it jumps, the player can actually jump up to meet this thing. So I'm going to end video 1 here, and then I'm going to tell you about levels and how to make them maybe kind of interesting and how to show you to go from one level to another.